School is brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
Bernard Tobin here, realagriculture.com, coming to you from just north of Guelph today, July 7th, joined by Aaron Stefanis, market agronomist, Pride Seeds. Sir, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, last year we did a little video called The Sins of the Spring, where we drove around and looked at some of the sins of the spring, where things had gone wrong and what growers could learn about those situations. This year, we're going to do wins of the spring, where things went right.
Yep.
And that didn't happen a lot this spring.
Depends where you are.
It was tough. It was tough. But we're going to feature some fields today where, patience, using, waiting till the soil was fit really paid off. And that's the case in this field.
Absolutely. You betcha. This field is just north of Guelph, like you said. It was planted May 11th. On that Mother's Day weekend, which a lot of people, there's a lot of talk out there, buzz about the May 11th weekend and how some of that corn looks tough. Well, this is a true testament of just having the right conditions. So this grower, we didn't get much rain in this area, so he was able to plant early. So nice big key is he was actually able to plant early. The second part of that is, obviously, planting in good soil conditions. So when I came to this field when it was getting planted, we have one of our experimental plots here. So I helped the grower put the plot in. And when I got into this field, the field conditions were just tremendous. So the soil moisture was right. I didn't see any ponding or areas where it was clotted up from either being worked too wet or using the wrong tillage equipment. The soil was nice and fine and firm, which is a big key. He had I'm not sure what tillage he used, but it was a firming action behind the cultivator, that final pass to firm it up so that planter could work properly. And it was just fantastic.
Awesome. Hey, we walked around here. Weed control is outstanding. So obviously you had a good program.
You betcha. This grower is... He's just a top shelf grower. He uses a pre-emerge program, so he really likes to be a good steward with his herbicide. So I'm not sure what he put down. Usually he puts down Converge XT, and it's all about keeping that field clean. So while it was in that critical weed-free period, there was no weeds to compete with the corn, and it just grew like it was supposed to and didn't have to worry about losing any yield that way. The second part of that, too, is as we're moving forward in these more glyphosate-resistant weeds, we really got to do our good due diligence and stewardship practice to make sure we can keep the tools of the herbicides that we have in our toolbox. So, like I said, 2 modes of action as a pre-emerge. Then I'm assuming he came back with a shot of glyphosate to clean up any issues. And now we're sitting here. The corn's almost shoulder high, and it looks fantastic, even, and really looking to put some good yields in the bin.
Now you're probably a week away or 10 days away from tassel, and we also looked at the root zone.
Yes,
tremendous
that's right.
roots. Let's have a
look. You betcha. So I dug some up here, and so this root here, it is kind of a little bit mangled because it is fairly wet, and I didn't have a hose to properly wet it off. But essentially, this is the root zone that I like to see. So what do you see out of the root zone? This just proves that he went into ideal conditions in planting. You don't have any of that hatchet rooting. You don't have any of your crown roots really like all over the place trying to bust through compaction areas. They're growing freely. They're doing what they're supposed to do. The crown roots are supposed to be on a 35-degree angle, so that's the way they're supposed to grow. And if you could look at this, it is essentially on a 35-degree angle. It's the way it's supposed to be. There's no fine root hairs. So when you see fine root hairs on your roots, that usually means that you have not enough oxygen in the soil, usually caused from ponding. Maybe it can also be caused from excessive rains, which have happened this year, but also could be compaction because the water is not infiltrating through the soil like it should. So we don't see any of that. Nice lateral roots on it. Everything looks healthy, so there is no restrictions in the root zone for yield. And as you can see in this field, it's even. And that all starts here with the roots, because if you start having constricted roots, you start getting stunted growth, and you get a little bit of uneven growth in your plant, which can limit yield.
Yeah, so big yield potential here.
You betcha. As long as everything keeps on going right, I see big yields coming out of this field.
Awesome. So here we are. We've moved on to a different field.
Yep.
Aaron, this field planted May 26th.
That's correct.
It really looks incredible for a May 26th planting. How do you get this done, planting that late?
Well, a big part of that is patience, and we saw that there was a lot of fields that were planted later. We did have a lot of rain in the spring, but it was that patience to wait for that soil to be worked up properly. So we got similar precipitation here compared to the field that we were at previously, but this had a little bit more of a drainage issue. So we had to wait it out for it to be fit to work, and that was the key thing, is being fit to work. There was a lot of fields that were worked a little lumpy, a little borderline, and you saw that clumpiness get brought up. Even when you pack it down with a packer or something like that, you still have a cloddy soil type. So you're not getting good seed to soil contact. Makes a little bit of variability in the corn, but it's all about having that emergence all come up, that corn emerge all at the same time, which you get when you have a good soil conditions in planting. And because we waited, we got that here, and the corn crop's looking pretty good.
Now, how far are you from tassel on this field now?
Well, we're about 5 leaves, and the way you do that is so say you walk into your cornfield, grab the 2 top leaves and pull them out. Give it a little kick on the bottom of your heel, and then you can that kind of takes out the bottom of the tassel, so it's easier to unroll the leaves. So the leaves will be leaved over, depending on how many leaves. Those ones that are leaved over, that's considered, you know, the maturity of the corn, so that doesn't count. So start rolling the leaves back like I'm doing here, and start counting. So you know, we're at the last 2 leaves here of rolling back, and as you can see,
there you go. So your total leaves, you're about what, 4 or 5 leaves here?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So 5 leaves away from tassel, which is right about where it should be. I registered this field on weathercentral.com, and that's pretty much, give or take, where they have it maturing in their maturity group based on the heat units that have been accumulated. So we're right on track. Actually, in this field, even though it is planted May 26th, it's a 2800 heat unit corn, or a 93 relative maturity corn, and they have it black layering October 3rd. So okay. I'm happy with that. Our frost-free date usually is into the middle of October, give or take. Every year's different, but on average, that's what it is. So I'm happy with where this corn crop's going to mature.
Now, I think a key lesson here is that the weather after planting is really more important than before.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you look at this year, for example, compared to last year, we have had our evening temperatures have been a lot higher. So I like to use the analogy that people use on the corn's like a freight train when it comes to day and evening temperatures. So, you know, you have a nice hot humid day, corn's growing, we always joke you can hear the corn growing, it's just going through, and then as long as that night temperature stays above 10 degrees Celsius, it just keeps on roaring through. No momentum's lost, the sun comes out, photosynthesis starts, and it starts banging out more leaves, producing more sugar, doing everything it needs to do to produce a high yield. When you get below 10 degrees Celsius though, it's like slowing down that freight train. So the corn likes to be above 10, like I said. It slows down. When the sun comes up in the morning, it's like getting that freight train up to speed again. So sometimes you may not be capturing all that heat and sunlight. Well, you're capturing the sunlight, but the heat till the afternoon, because you got to get that corn up and going again. And it's not really taking advantage of all of the heat units that are in the day. So we've had better night temperatures. Corn keeps on roaring through. Yeah, we've had some cool nights, but as you can see, even late planted corn is doing well.
And you got some fertility options here, right?
That's right.
You got a field like this, you go in and do some side dress.
Yep. And we're seeing more and more of that. I really like this idea of splitting up nitrogen. Not only is it environmentally safe, but you're essentially giving your crop nitrogen when you need it. So the Growmark Group, FS Partners, and people under that division, they've been doing some in-crop nitrogen work with Tallboy spreaders. I did this with a 3-point hitch spreader, and it seemed to work very well. I put it on at 8-leaf corn, and it just took off. It got a rain right away, and it just took off and keeps on staying green. And we're putting that nitrogen into the crop when it needs it, so it is fully taking it up versus top loading it all and possibly losing either due to leaching or to denitrification.
Yeah. Well, hey, there you have it. A couple of wins of the spring, and we'll come back in the fall and get the final score. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Good stuff.